Hey everyone, welcome back. To all my listeners, this is episode 11 in season 11. Today is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, all right, you guys, I know you've been wanting to hear big shout outs. 69 countries worldwide are tuning in to Paint the Medical Picture podcast. Whether you find me here on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on my YouTube channel, wherever you find me, I am just so humbled, continually grateful to all of you. And as of the past couple of episodes, I've even reached the top charts in Italy. So that's my first time to break through and make it onto their top charts. I've been consistently on the top charts here in the US as well as India time and time again. So I'm so very grateful. And this year, as of January 1st, 2024, I have moved up in the top medical billing and coding podcast blogs to watch out for. And so I made it to the number one spot out of their top 15. So I think that's a huge accomplishment. I love my podcast and I love all of my supporters. So thank you guys so much. All right, let's get into today's episode. You guys know it's the second Wednesday of the month, and you know that it is going to be featuring my OIG Work Plan updates for February 2024. And in my Trusty tip, I'm going to be getting into my compliance recommendations for the latest updates to Modifier 59 in the RHC and FQHC settings. And of course, today I'm going to go ahead and round out today's episode with another remarkable quote on quality versus quantity by Emile Zola. Today's episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services. Let's get into it. Today's episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services, a leading medical billing and medical coding school in the United States. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned professional, our training equips you with the tools and support you need to advance your career. Our medical billing and coding school meets your needs worldwide online or in person with one-on-one support throughout your training. We are committed to helping our alumni and credentialed medical community in keeping up their certifications by offering various avenues for acquiring your continuing education units. In addition to our Mastering the Business of Medicine retreats offered several times throughout the year in different parts of the country, we now offer memberships. You can conveniently earn your CEUs by attending our exclusive members-only webinars. Since our aim is to nurture and grow the careers of individuals who work in the business of medicine, we call our member area the Apple Orchard. Advanced Coding Services, educate, nurture, inspire, reaching back with a hand up. So let's get into Newsworthy, the month of February's OIG Work Plan updates. There are 5 updates to the OIG Work Plan for the month of February 2024. The first is titled Superfund Financial Activities at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. Now, this report is expected from the Office of Audit Services. The National Institutes of Health's National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, or the NIEHS, provides Superfund Research Program funds for university-based multidisciplinary research on human health and environmental issues related to hazardous substances. Federal law and regulations require that OIG conduct an annual audit of the Institute's Superfund activities. Now, the OIG will review payments, obligations, reimbursements, and other uses of Superfund money by the NIEHS. This final report is expected in fiscal year 2025. Now, the second OIG work plan for February 2024 is titled Audit of NIH's Oversight of the All of Us Research Program Award Recipients. Now, this report is expected from the Office of Audit Services. The National Institutes of Health, the NIH, is the primary federal agency for conducting and supporting biomedical research. The All of Us Research Program is a major component of the Precision Medicine Initiative overseen by the NIH. Now, the All of Us research program is responsible for building a national research cohort of more than 1 million participants who provide their personal information to the NIH so that researchers, providers, and patients can work together to build a better future for healthcare. Without appropriate security and privacy controls to protect the All of Us research program data, the program and its award recipients cannot effectively minimize information security and cybersecurity risks to an acceptable level. The purpose of this audit is to determine whether the All of Us research program award recipients, number one, limit program research data access, number two, implement information security and privacy controls, and finally, third, remediate information security and privacy weaknesses in accordance with federal requirements. This final report is expected in fiscal year 2025. Now, the third OIG Work Plan update for February 2024 is titled Comparisons of Average Sales Prices to Widely Available Market Prices for the Fourth Quarter 2023. Now, this report is expected from the Office of Evaluation and Inspections. When Congress established average sales prices, or ASPs, as the basis for Medicare Part B drug reimbursements, it also provided a mechanism for monitoring market prices for drugs covered under Part B and limiting potentially excessive Medicare payment amounts. Now, Section 1847A D 1 through 3 of the Social Security Act requires OIG to monitor the market prices of drugs and biologicals and report its findings to the CMS. If the OIG finds through its monitoring of drug prices that the ASP for a drug differed from the drug's average manufacturer price or widely available market price, or WAMP, by at least 5%, the Secretary of the Health and Human Services may substitute the ASP-based reimbursement amount with the lower amount in the following quarter. This evaluation will determine how ASPs used to calculate Part B reimbursement amounts for single-source drugs compare to WAMPs. The result of this evaluation could lead to changes in Part B drug payment amounts and ultimately produce savings for Medicare and its enrollees. This final report is expected in fiscal year 2024. Now, the fourth OIG Work Plan for February 2024 is titled National Background Check Program for Long-Term Care Providers, a Final Assessment. Now, this report is coming from the Office of Evaluation and Inspections. The National Background Check Program, the NBCP, provides grants to states to develop programs for conducting background checks of prospective long-term care provider employees. The NBCP was launched through legislation enacted in 2010 and included a mandate for OIG to produce an evaluation of NBCP within 180 days of the program's completion. This report will be the final report in a series to fulfill this mandate. When NBCP ends, the OIG will determine the extent to which states conducted background checks during and after program participation. The OIG will determine the cost of conducting background checks, the number of applicants who received a background check, and those who were disqualified from employment during and after NBCP participation. Additionally, the OIG will determine whether states experienced unintended consequences, the program's impact on reducing the number of incidents of neglect, abuse, and misappropriation of resident property, and the long-term impact of the program. Now, this final report is expected in fiscal year 2025. And the final, fifth OIG Work Plan update for February 2024 is titled Audit of HHS Program Support Center's Process for Disbursing Grant Payments. This report is coming from the Office of Audit Services. The Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, their Program Support Center, or PSC, administers one of the most widely utilized grant payment systems in the federal government. Payment Management Services, a component of PSC, provides grant and grant-like payments, cash management, and grant accounting support services to the HHS and other federal departments and agencies. Payment Management Services is responsible for the development, operation, and maintenance of the Payment Management System, or PMS. and processes more than 70% of civilian grant payments made by the federal government. The PMS expedites the flow of grant payments between the federal government and grant recipients, provides grant recipient payment and expenditure data to awarding agencies, and helps to manage cash advances to grant recipients. With significant surges in attacks against governmental systems, including email phishing campaigns, it is essential that effective controls are established to prevent fraud and protect personally identifiable information, or PII, from unauthorized access. The OIG will gather information and conduct reviews of PSC and payment management services, relevant policies, procedures, and cybersecurity controls to determine whether the PMS was designed and operating with effective controls. This final report is expected in fiscal year 2025. And now, it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. Now, there's been an update on the proper use of modifiers 59, XE, XP, XS, and XU in the Rural Health Clinic, the RHC, and Federally Qualified Health Center, the FQHC settings. A single RHC or FQHC visit constitutes more than one RHC or FQHC practitioner encounter on the same day, or multiple encounters with the same RHC or FQHC practitioner on the same day. This is payable as one visit. This policy applies regardless of all of these items. First, the length or complexity of the visit. Second, the number or type of practitioners seen. Third, the second visit is scheduled or unscheduled. And fourth, the first visit is related or unrelated to the subsequent visit. An exception to this policy occurs when the patient, after the first visit, suffers an illness or injury that requires additional diagnosis or additional treatment on the same day. For example, a patient sees their practitioner in the morning for a medical condition and later in the day has a fall and returns to the RHC or FQHC. In this situation only, the FQHC would use the modifier 59 on the claim, and the RHC would use modifier 59 or modifier 25 to show that the treatment qualifies for 2 billable visits. The only other exceptions are if the patient has a medical visit and a mental health visit on the same day. So those are 2 billable visits. Or for RHCs only, the patient has an initial preventive physical examination, or the IPPE, and a separate medical mental health visit, or both on the same day as the IPPE. So those could be 2 or 3 billable visits. And finally, I focus Season 11 Spark on quality versus quantity. I want this 11th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires the need for better understanding of quality versus quantity. So, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from Emile Zola. "If I cannot overwhelm with my quality, I will overwhelm with my quantity." Very interesting quote, isn't it? I think this quote is pretty appropriate in today's modern times. In my opinion, we're bombarded by the quantity of images or products or things to sell. Everybody wants to get in on this game. I'm not sure about the value or the quality of the product. I think the value and quality may be missed if the end goal is simply to overwhelm by the sheer quantity alone. Regardless, we're definitely seeing success. People are finding success in this form of overwhelm as well. So, this quote by Emile Zola is definitely appropriate in today's times as well. So the spark he spurred back then is still applicable today. So that wraps up today's episode, and as always, I appreciate you guys diving into today with me. If you want more information from me, please go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. Now, all right, you guys, don't forget to catch my LinkedIn Live broadcast on Friday for my latest episode of Compliance Capers with my very good friend and colleague, Betty Hovey. Now, just in time, let me share that, of course, remember, this entire month of March, we're devoted to the OIG Work Plan, just like today's episode. However, we dig even deeper into the OIG Work Plan and we talk about closed reports. So just like when I notify you of the February update in Newsworthy, we go back and review the closed report that has come out. So check it out, you guys, on LinkedIn Live, or go ahead and watch the episodes on my YouTube channel for Paint the Medical Picture. This week, we're going to be diving into ophthalmology services in that closed report. So, wish you guys all an amazing and very, very happy week ahead. Thank you so much for listening on today's episode, and I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.